A reading from Genesis. The Lord said to the serpent, "Because you have done this, cursed are you among all animals and among all wild creatures. Upon your belly you shall go, and dust you shall eat all the days of your life. I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your offspring and hers. He will strike your head, and you will strike his heel." To the woman, God said, I will greatly increase your pangs in childbearing. In pain you shall bring forth children. Yet your desire shall be for your husband, and he shall rule over you. And to the man, God said, because you have listened to the voice of your wife and have eaten of the tree about which I commanded you, you shall not eat of it. Cursed is the ground because of you. In toil you shall eat of it all the days of your life. Thorns and thistles it shall bring forth for you, and you shall eat the plants of the field. By the sweat of your face you shall eat bread until you return to the ground, for out of it you were taken. You are dust, and to dust you shall return. Cain said to his brother Abel, "Let us go out to the field." And when they were in the field, Cain rose up against his brother Abel and killed him. Then the Lord said to Cain, "Where is your brother Abel?" He said, "I do not know. Am I my brother's keeper?" And the Lord said, "What have you done? Listen, your brother's blood is crying out to me from the ground. And now you are cursed from the ground, which has opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. When you till the ground, it will no longer yield to you its strength. You will be a fugitive and a wanderer on the earth." Cain said to the Lord, "My punishment is greater than I can bear. Today you have driven me away from the soil, and I shall be hidden from your face. I shall be a fugitive and a wanderer on the earth, and anyone who meets me may kill me." Then the Lord said to him, "Not so. Whoever kills Cain will suffer a sevenfold vengeance." And the Lord put a mark on Cain, so that no one who came upon him would kill him. Then Cain went away from the presence of the Lord and settled in the land of Nod, east of Eden. Word of God, word of life. Thanks be to God. I was born in Louisville, Georgia, and I sort of grew up there unofficially. I spent summers, lots of summers, on my grandparents' farm. I never really lived in Louisville because when I was 1 year old, my dad got released from his call to a church after a sermon supporting the civil rights movement. People didn't want to hear it. People did not want to hear the voice of a prophet. People still don't want to hear the prophets. Not when their lifestyle or privilege or superiority is questioned or threatened. We don't want to hear it. We will fight to hold on to the lifestyle and comforts to which we are accustomed. But the blood of injustice cries out from the very ground. And the time comes when we can't ignore its prophetic voice any longer. We don't know much about Abel and why his sacrifice was more pleasing to God than Cain's. But we do know that Cain, his brother, couldn't stand being second to him. Cain couldn't stand not being superior, and so he killed his brother Abel. Human beings want superiority. We are ruthless in gaining it, and even more ruthless in keeping it. And the very ground on which we stand bears witness to our sin. crying out our injustice. After that first move, when I was 1 year old, my family continued to be nomads. Moves that involved Dad being called to different churches and moves that involved Dad getting more education. He eventually earned a doctorate. Then when my children were small, Mother and Dad moved back to Louisville to be near and to care for my grandparents. And I remember standing in their backyard in that place, that one place that was common through all my life, and feeling as if my feet were growing roots down into the ground. I felt that connected to the land in that place, a land where I knew I was loved. My children grew up spending summers on my parents' farm, and I imagine when we go back there next month to bury my mother's ashes, my son will feel that connected to the land in that place too. It's good to feel like you belong somewhere, like there's a place from which you came, home, earth. It really is true that we are from the dust of the earth. The elements of which we're made are the elements in the earth's crust. Elements upon which life itself is based are found in the composition on the ground upon which we live, and it's common to all the creatures with whom we share it. We really are all related, and the earth is our place of origin, our home, the womb of life. We really are all interdependent, and every living thing on this planet is dependent on Earth's health. We breathe her air, we drink her water, we are nourished by her flora and fauna, yet she is sick, and we must care for her. In the words of Pope Francis, the earth herself, burdened and laid waste, is among the most abandoned and maltreated of our poor. He wrote his encyclical letter on care for our common home as an address to every person living on this planet, because we are all faced with global environmental deterioration. Yet when a prophetic voice speaks, and we hear that voice say that we need to elevate the importance of our care for the earth, our Cain-like aggression is stirred. We don't like being told that our conduct is causing harm. We don't like hearing that we need to sacrifice something of our lifestyle. We don't like the notion of giving up our superiority, but it is critical that we all listen to the prophet's voice. Pope Francis' appeal is this: the urgent challenge to protect our common home includes a concern to bring the whole human family together to seek a sustainable and integral development. For we know that things can change. The Creator does not abandon us. We need a conversation which includes everyone. We require a new and universal solidarity. We require universal solidarity. Oh, is that all? It's been 55 years since that pro-civil rights sermon that cost my dad his call. We've made some progress since then to ensure equality for people of color, or so we thought we had. But in these last few years, this year especially, we have found out that racism and hatred from long, long ago has just been festering. We haven't come as far along the way as we thought. So even on that one issue, solidarity in the United States alone seems impossible. We don't even need to bring up all the other points of division we suffer as we try to maintain our lifestyles of superiority and privilege. Now, please understand, this is not an indictment of any single person or lifestyle or political party or ethnic group or any other category in which we place ourselves and around which we determine our boundaries. I'm not talking in micro terms, but in macro terms. We need to start thinking about ourselves as a citizenry of the whole, as a nationwide community of people who care for our common home. And then we can't stop there. We need to extrapolate that out to a global community, because that is what is required to heal Earth's sickness. Universal solidarity, a global community. The blood of injustice cries out from the very foundation of our common home. It is true that our global community is becoming more aware of and sensitive to our global environmental deterioration, but it's just not translating into changes in the harmful ways that we live. Our unchecked consumption, our increasing use of power, our markets benefiting from the sales that feed our ever-growing demand, all these things are still escalating. And our earth pleads that we take another course. This situation, in the words of Pope Francis, has caused Sister Earth, along with all the abandoned of our world, to cry out, pleading that we take another course. Never have we so hurt and mistreated our common home as we have in the last 200 years with industrialization and progress. We can see signs that the earth is nearing a breaking point. The pace of change and degradation is speeding up. With climate destabilization, there are more and more large-scale disasters. Natural phenomena are becoming stronger. Super hurricanes from the east, wildfires in the west, earthquakes to the south. Our land is being battered and burned and flooded. And yet, there are words of hope in Pope Francis' appeal. Did you hear them? The Creator does not abandon us. God has never abandoned humanity. God did not abandon Cain. In grace, God marked Cain for protection, and God will not abandon the earth. Because just as death spread to all because all have sinned, the grace of God and the free gift in the grace of Jesus Christ has abounded for all. I believe that promise of grace applies to all creation. In the words of the psalmist, "Where can I go then from God's Spirit? Where can I flee from God's presence? If I climb up to heaven, if I make the grave my bed, if I fly to the uttermost parts of the chaos, the sea, even there God's hand will lead me and hold me fast." God does not abandon God's creation. God is infused in every speck of dust, every mountain, every river, the air we take into our lungs. Even there, God's presence holds us and sustains us. And God has equipped us with scientists, philosophers, theologians, civic organizations, all those to help us understand the implications of how we live and how that affects our common home. Some countries are making progress and improvement and the restoration and healing of their land. There are ways that the earth's balance can be repaired. So I believe that we can reverse or at least stop the destruction. It will take all of us going back to the earth, back to that place from whence we came, back to that place where our feet grow roots down into the ground, that place where we know we are loved. I believe it will take remembering that all of creation was made from love and for love. Maybe in a place where we love the very dirt of the ground, we'll be able to hear the cry of earth's wounds and spilled blood. Maybe then we can hear the voice of the prophets who speak of the emergency and call us to action. And who knows, universal solidarity? Maybe it's possible. You see how people come together in emergencies to respond to flood, hurricane, fire, earthquake devastation. And all our points of division seem to be suspended when we do. It's irrelevant. What divides us is irrelevant when we respond to an emergency. This is an emergency. And I pray that the people of the earth can come together in the same way to respond to the emergency of the devastation of our earth and make the changes needed to feed her, heal her, nurture her, and to participate with God in sustaining her. And it will need to be a long-term participation, long-term. And that participation just might have the power to heal not only the earth, but the global human community as well. Please, God, let it be so.